Fate is an absurd fate which might charm and attract a lucid heart. It is necessary to establish this in order to grasp without misunderstanding what will follow. The actor's realm is that of the fleeting. Of all kinds of fame, it is known, is the most ephemeral. At least, this is said in conversation. But all kinds of fame are ephemeral. From the point of view of Sirius, Goethe's works in 10,000 years will be dust and his name forgotten. Perhaps a handful of archaeologists will look for evidence as to our era. That idea has always contained a lesson. Seriously meditated upon, it reduces our perturbations to the profound nobility that is found in indifference. Above all, it directs our concerns toward what is most certain, that is, toward the immediate. Of all kinds of fame, the least deceptive is the one that is lived. Hence the actor has chosen multiple fame, the fame that is hallowed and tested. From the fact that everything is to die someday, he draws the best conclusion. An actor succeeds or does not succeed. A writer has some hope even if he is not appreciated. He assumes that his work will bear witness to what he was. At best, the actor will leave us a photograph, nothing of what he was himself, his gestures and silences, his gasping, his panting with love, come down to us. For him, not to be known is not to act. Not acting is dying 100 times with all the creatures he would have brought to life and resuscitated. Why should we be surprised to find a fleeting fame built upon the most ephemeral of creations? The actor has 3 hours to be Iago, or Alceste, Fedra, or Gloucester. In that short space of time, he makes them come to life, die on 50 square yards of boards. Never has the absurd been so well illustrated, or at such length. What more revelatory epitome can be imagined than those marvelous lives, those exceptional, total destinies, unfolding for a few hours within a stage set? Off the stage, Sigismondo ceases to count. 2 hours later, he seemed uncounted. Then it is perhaps that life is a dream. But after Sigismondo comes another. The hero suffering from uncertainty takes the place of the man roaring for his revenge. By thus sweeping over centuries and minds, and miming man as he can be and as he is, the actor has much in common with that other absurd individual, the traveler. Like him, he drains something and is constantly on the move. He is a traveler in time, at the best, a hunted traveler pursued by souls. If ever the ethics of quantity could find sustenance, it is indeed on that strange stage. To what degree the actor benefits from the characters is hard to say. That is not the important thing. It is merely a matter of knowing how far he identifies himself with those irreplaceable lives. It often happens that he carries them with him, but they somewhat overflow the time and place in which they were born. They accompany the actor, who cannot very readily separate himself from what he has been. Occasionally, when reaching for his glass, he resumes Hamlet's gesture of raising his cup. No, the distance separating him from the creatures into whom he infuses life is not so great. He abundantly illustrates every month, or every day, with so suggestive truth that there is no frontier between what a man wants to be and what he is. Always concerned with better representing, he demonstrates to what a degree appearing creates being. For that is his art. To simulate absolute vocation becomes clear. To apply himself wholeheartedly to being nothing or to being several. The narrower the limits allotted him for creating his character, the more necessary his talent. He will die in 3 hours under the mask he has assumed today. Within 3 hours, he must experience and express a whole exceptional life. That is called losing oneself to find oneself. In those 3 hours, he travels the whole course of the dead-end path that the man in the audience takes a lifetime to cover. A mime of the ephemeral, the actor trains and perfects himself only in appearances. The theatrical convention is that the heart expresses itself and communicates itself only through gestures and in the body, or through the voice, which is as much of the soul as of the body. The rule of that art insists that everything be magnified and translated into flesh. If it were essential on the stage to love as people really love, to employ that irreplaceable voice of the heart, is spent in implying, in turning away, and in keeping silent. Here the actor is the intruder. He breaks the spell chaining that soul, and at last the passions can rush onto their stage. They speak in every gesture. They live only through shouts and cries. Thus, the actor creates his characters for display. He outlines or sculptures them, and slips into their imaginary form, transfusing his blood into their phantoms. I am, of course, speaking of great drama, the kind that gives the actor an opportunity to fulfill his wholly physical fate. Take Shakespeare, for instance. In that impulsive drama, the physical passions lead the dance. They explain everything. Without them, all would collapse. Never would King Lear keep the appointment set by madness without the brutal gesture that exiles Cordelia and condemns Edgar. It is just that the unfolding of that tragedy should thenceforth be dominated by madness. Souls are given over to the demons and their saraband. No fewer than 4 madmen.
With some walkies.
One by trade, another by intention, and the last 2 through suffering. 4 disordered bodies, 4 unutterable aspects of the
Porcelain
same
bricks, baby.
condition. The very